what's possibly gonna happen. But I'm also concerned about the health and well-being of the citizens of White Pine County. And I said earlier, when he lumped us all into one pot and made us all go to 25%, Eureka, us, Lander, these small, we aren't the same. But we could stay at the meeting here, I believe, might even be the first one in the state to have questions about what he did yesterday. Probably are. So maybe he can learn from what we're saying right here today, that maybe I shouldn't have included. He said yesterday 4 counties in the state have little or nothing to do, but yet those 4 counties included the other 50. So this meeting here can go a long ways as far as trying to work together and open the governor's eyes that we are not the same. And I think that's my main point. We're not the same as Las Vegas or Reno. We're not. And maybe Humboldt, Elko, they have some major issues, but we don't. Landry doesn't, Eureka, Pershing, Mineral, these counties don't have it. But let's see if we can't work something out and get with these businesses. And I'm happy to hear that you got in good with the business that didn't comply. And now I believe the second time around they will. So as we try to make a resolution or tweak it to make it good, let's make it good for everybody. But let's make it good. I'm all for these businesses, and I think everybody at this table or in this building does. We need to keep them, but we cannot let them go to 25%.
Do you hear what I'm saying though? I mean,
Yeah.
this has got to be more than just a vent session, how upset we are with these regulations.
Right.
I don't know that we have any authority or ability to control anything the governor says with regards to these businesses and his mandates, other than encourage our businesses to challenge those regulations, because they're the ones that have standing to do so. I don't know how we stop the enforcement of it. I really don't. I thought it was a really novel idea on the quarantine order for the out-of-county inspectors. But beyond that, I just don't want to waste everyone's time or put out hope that we can do something to prevent this, the implementation of these regulations.
I think it should be noted that I am very pro-business regardless of what you might think.
Right.
And that I want our businesses to succeed, and I also am worried about them, but that's not my charge. My charge is for the public. And so, it's hard to watch one business following the rules in our county and doing everything they can to remain open while another business flaunts the rules and does nothing, or limited.
Ideally, it would be best if those counties like us could continue, we could still be an economic force for the whole state as far as that goes. That's still, if we can maintain where we were, so far as the 50% is what I'm talking, where the one size does not fit all, that would still be an economic engine that could be working in the state, are those few counties. If we could do that.
And if the issue is that there's individuals within our community that aren't conforming to the rules and regulations that are still in place as of midnight tonight, or whatever it is, if the board wants me to look at doing a better job of enforcing those rules as some sort of compromise to avoid the 25% rules or something, we can definitely look at that. I really haven't been brought in on any of these enforcement issues. The public health officer has seemed to be doing a lot of that, that communication and outreach. I haven't been involved in that yet. If that's going to be a satisfactory solution to the governor, that we do their job enforcing the rules that he's already put out to get us out of the new set of rules, I'd be happy to have that discussion. We're just not, no one's communicating with us about that.
Right, and that's something.
The problem I have here is we're wanting to make sure that we can really lay down the law on these businesses that haven't been conforming to what we're doing. Yet in our earlier discussion, we've already allowed ourselves to just breeze right over a free pass in our own maintenance department. Or are we going to apply those same rules to ourselves and shut down our maintenance for 2 weeks? Because we can't do that because that's just too much of a burden on us. But it's not too much that I'm not allowed that same rule. My employees, if I have someone being tested, I'm not allowed to let them come in and go to work, but we're gonna allow ourselves, the county, a free pass, because as a government entity, that's too much to ask, but for a private business, is there two sets of rules that we're gonna go, is there gonna be the government set of rules and the private sector set of rules?
No, in fact, that's what the second item's about, because I foresaw that we
Yeah.
need to look at our own house first before we go
Yes.
out. Well, to give us more credibility, if we're gonna stand and say, we'll do the governor's rules as of today, but not the ones he just passed, because, I mean, you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
we can't give ourselves a pass, or we give everyone a pass. But I'm just saying specific to this economic declaration of economic emergency, because this is our tax dollars also that fund the county support, that's why it's involving us. I just don't know how we can legally take a position to expel the inspectors when they come to town. That's what I'm saying. And then we'll get into, I think, your major concern is coming up in the second item.
I think, does anybody else have, I'm sure, in the interest of making this meeting move forward, is there anybody else, we've had discussion and debate on item one about the resolution? Does anybody else have anything they'd like to speak up to before I ask for a motion to, see if I can get a motion to approve it?
I have a
Can
question,
we-
Go
Mike.
ahead.
So Mike, are you feeling like, because so much of this is for posterity's sake anyway and not necessarily enforceable, is it just not gonna matter whether we pass it as is today or whether we red pencil it and come back with a better version later?
I mean, I would prefer that you get some feedback from businesses and you red pencil it and give me some,
Okay,
figure out what it is we can do with an authority that has meaning.
good.
If you do pass a day, some stuff will come of it. I guarantee it'll be on the news tonight, and we'll rattle our sabers, and then they're gonna have an army of inspectors show up here next week. So, and then our businesses could suffer for our actions today. So, that's what I'm just trying to protect against,
I
is
would-
striking that balance.
I would prefer that we just use this for discussion
Yep.
rather than take a vote.
I'll just move to table it.
Would next week, would everyone be fine with having a regular commission meeting, but just so we're not 2 weeks out, like the first week of December? Just so we.
Can agenda,
I'm talking rate,
just for the one item.
or we can take care of other county
You
business
can-
too, whatever,
You
but.
can call in also to this meeting as well. Show up in person.
Can do one now, I couldn't understand what you said.
Sorry, got a mask on.
I got you.
So, you can, if you, let's say what day is Monday, you can schedule for next Wednesday afternoon, let's just say at 3 o'clock. And then that will allow Nicole to get an agenda, if we can get the items in by tomorrow, we can get it, agenda according to open meeting law, so it doesn't be an emergency session, okay? And then you don't have to be physically present, maybe just the chairman and the clerk and I can be present, and the rest you can call in, if there's an issue with that, if there's an issue with conflict for scheduling.
Well, Wednesday's the day before Thanksgiving, so are you sure that?
No, next week.
Next week.
A week
Oh.
from Wednesday.
December 2nd.
And that would be a special meeting, and then we'd have a regular meeting on the ninth?
Yeah,
Okay.
or, I mean, that's what Travis is suggesting, or you guys can just put it on the night.
By the way, does it make a difference if it's on the ninth, or should we have the special one with what Mike said, 3 members and the rest on Zoom? I think if we kept it and added it to the ninth, it gives a little more time to maybe fine tune it, and then have it on the agenda for the ninth with our regular meeting.
My only concern, and the more we talk, the less of a concern it's becoming, is I don't want, the less time that our citizens and our businesses feel like they have to be under this BS that was articulated last night, the better, right? So we called the emergency meeting, you know, among other things, because this was urgent to discuss, because we don't want our people getting stuck under this garbage, so, but knowing that it's all gonna be new, and it's not like they're gonna be, anyway, I feel like we probably will be safe to get to the ninth. It wouldn't be the worst. I don't feel that much pressure, I'd be okay going to just wait until the ninth, give everybody time to red pencil this, give, the DA some time, the 2 of us some time to research and get a little creative on how how we can genuinely protect our community economically.
Okay, and as you move forward in this next week and a half, I really think involving the public health officer and the sheriff and sit down and maybe
Sure.
round table it, and you can really get it ready for the night, and we can have it pretty quick.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that okay with you, Darren?
Certainly, sir.
Okay, so,
So, Ian, you were the one that penciled this?
Yes.
okay, so what about making this a discussion item, Mike?
Yeah, I was just gonna move to table it, or we can make a discussion.
What do we need?
Well, we discussed it enough, so we're not tabling it, so
Okay.
I guess that's the proper terminology.
Discussion only.
Discussion only. Travis, kind of your item. And how long were the governor's new, rules supposed to take place for?
3
4
months.
weeks.
For 3 weeks?
At
It
least.
may be over by the time we get to our meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be your best counsel to you as possible. I wanna make sure that you're doing some good regulations that are gonna have an actual protection and not just cause more problems for our businesses. That's all.
Well, and one thing that we didn't talk about is, if it's gonna impact any of our CARES funding.
Do we already have it in the bank? Oh, no, we
An
don't.
update on
But you
that
could
is
pay
that
back.
Treasury guidance from the Fed said that they cannot impact us in any way other than what is required for that funding at the federal level, to go ahead and pass that on to us. So at your next meeting, I was gonna update you on an amendment to your coronavirus relief fund eligibility, and that is that they struck clause 8, which said you had to follow all the governor's mandates to be eligible for that funding. You now have that update, surprise and good
Hallelujah.
news.
Weird.
Okay,
So
Okay.
we're in the clear from that standpoint.
good to hear.
Okay, let's try to move this along.
Go ahead.
And so we made, item 1 is a discussion item, and I think that there's some good dialogue. I appreciate everybody's comments. I really do. I think we made some good headway, and you guys meet with the sheriff and the public health officer and try to get something drafted up for the night. So now we're gonna go on to item 2, on page 2. It's discussion for possible action, the approval to consider and issue new public health orders and directives to mitigate and slow the spread of COVID-19 on a temporary basis under the authority vested in these boards by the Nevada revised statutes and rule to govern matters of local concern.
Thank you. So I've asked that it be placed on, just so we can have an update with our COVID numbers, but also look at how we're running the county, our county employees and our policies right now. And I think we all recognize that this is a thing, and that we don't need our whole departments getting quarantined at one time, because we have neglected to wear our masks or socially distant when we had opportunity to do so. I had an individual test positive in my office, and I sent home half my staff who had contact with that individual, and it was very difficult to get through that week. The other staff that were able to continue to work is because I had them socially distant already. And I also had everyone test in my office, and when those results came back, they were able to go back to work, but that was 3 days more. So if we resurrect some of our initial approach to COVID, where we had staggering work schedules, staggering work hours, a liberal use of any sick time, even though it's the end of the year and it's gonna cause some problems, where we had at one point a policy where you can use your sick time as an employee without retaliation from your department manager, as long as you coordinate that within the office. Because a lot of employees carry a lot of that sick time on the books anyway, and it has to be paid out a certain percentage upon their retirement or separation anyway. Do some of these things to kind of create some more office space and also encourage employees to work from home if possible under the direction of their department heads. We do have additional laptops. We have a little practice at this now. It's been a few months. And the reason why this is on the emergency agenda for today without the open meeting law 3 days publication notice is because this might be something we need to jump on right away. Because we all travel through the community. We know that certain departments, certain employees, we're not really requiring the wearing of masks in our own business, in our own departments, but it's required in all of our businesses. And that's kind of sending a mixed message. I know we're pretty conservative on this. We do think some of the regulations from the governor are overhanded or heavy-handed, but we also have to try to be somewhat reasonable in helping our hospital, which, I mean, they've done so many tests, and they are treating lots of patients right now. 40 individuals doesn't seem like a lot, 10,000, but it really is for us personally. I think we all know someone who has had COVID, we all know people who may have been sick, we certainly know someone who's died. So, I'm not saying that we need to change radically anything we're doing, other than maybe looking at a couple regulations and trying to see if we wanna issue a new order and kind of change our practice a little bit. It gives us a little more good faith if you are gonna go down the road and require quarantining with certain individuals coming into our community that might be bringing it. It also might give the hospital some breathing room locally, and infuse some hope with our public health officer if we take his recommendations seriously. And that way it gives us some more teeth and credibility if we have to go out in the community and enforce this stuff. It's just for discussion, and you can take some possible action. I'm not saying declare a state of emergency for the county right now like we initially did. I don't think that we are in a state of emergency with COVID, but we have had meetings to try to preserve our PPE, help the hospital get ready for this, and if we're not taking our proactive steps to try to slow that, I just don't want a spike that's gonna be critical for our hospital in 2 or 3 weeks that we could have controlled. Or I don't want a whole department shut down and have us without individuals in that office for a week or 2.
No, we need to set an example as leaders of the community, definitely, our offices.
I mean, I'm just as guilty as the next one. It's tough to, when you're sitting in an office by yourself for a while, to
Richard.
wear it, but.
Elizabeth?
I'd just like to say, as a department head, I felt it was very effective when this whole thing started, and you'd allowed us to stagger schedules, and I could have some people come in early, some people come in later, some people work on Saturdays, some people work from home on a rotating schedule, because that way I had reduced the overlap in my office by 60%. And that really helped spread us out and separate us, but still allowed us to accomplish our work. So I think that was effective for many of our departments when we initially went into that. And I would encourage us to reconsider that, because it does give us more space and social distancing and less overlap. Because yeah, if we have the finance department go down, especially if you have Eleni and I both go down at the same time, you're in trouble.
So in my, presentation a couple months ago on all of this, one of the things I had put in there that I'll take the blame, I should have put it just on the next agenda, was to, just like we don't want a one-size-fits-all for the county, we don't need a one-size-fits-all for departments. So I like the idea of, I think I even put it in there, that we should just direct all the department heads as they see fit, work with our health officer to come up with, use some creativity to come up with things that work for them, that he's happy with, that you guys, it's your discretion. We don't have to sit here and tell you what to do. If you've got ideas of how it's gonna work, you work with Darren, you get it worked out, do it, right? That's, I feel like that's a really simple fix.
Charles?
Yeah, and then to Ian's point, and if there's, a department head and Darren have an issue or disagree, on something, then Darren, you bring that to us, and we can, step in as necessary, but, yeah, I think we just, pass something that gives the department heads flexibility with a strong indication that, if we're expecting our private business to do it, you guys need to do it.
I will say one thing. We don't expect our private businesses to do it. We haven't passed any laws. In fact, we've opposed them and declared that they're illegal. So I don't feel disingenuous having our departments doing certain things, and because we're not enforcing it, we're not expecting our businesses to do it. Our governor does, but we're not. Anyway, just wanted to clear that up.
Discretion, each department is different. I know if I had an A team and a B team, on those kind of switching roles for when they're in the office, some working 10 or some are off or some work from home. If there is an exposure, I can just bring in the other team that wasn't exposed. And that's kind of why that's practical. The giving over the discretion of department heads is a great idea because we're all different. I just get worried that if it's not a consistent approach, also you're gonna have inconsistent results in compliance, so.
By the same token, we've got case studies all over the nation, entire states that didn't shut down at all, didn't have any mandates at all, didn't have anything at all. They just said, here's the federal government's recommendations and the CDC's recommendations.
you're all adults, be adults. And their numbers are not different than anyone else's numbers. In fact, the worst numbers are in the places where the oppression is hardest, which makes no sense, but that's where it is. New York, Los Angeles, all those places, their numbers are worse, and yet they have the harshest enforcement. So anyway, I'm just saying, we can say a lot about, you know, we may be at risk if not everybody's doing the same thing, but here we go, there's states where they're not all doing the same thing, everybody's doing what they think is right, and the numbers are the same.
It will take some action from this board if you're going to suspend the provisions of the personnel policy with regard to using sick time, admin leave, that kind of thing. And with the work hours and stuff.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
Karen
that-
had his hand up first.
Sorry.
Do you want me to,
Yeah, I feel like.
Mike? So I would think yes on discretion for departments when it comes to staggering lunches, going this, you know, these people come in at 10, these people leave it early, these people work at home. I would say, yeah, that makes sense. But on the flip side, I mean, that's fine, but I think a general discussion or general rule from the county commissioner saying all departments are going to wear masks, period. You will sanitize, you will socially distance as much as possible. Elizabeth's got HEPA filters she's looking at for office units to filter the air. Things like this, those are great things, but again, you can't go and see Nicole's department not wearing a mask and the district attorney's office, everybody's in masks. You can't, it's not, it just doesn't work. We can't afford to have Nicole down and her whole team, or the maintenance and their whole team, or anybody else. So I'd say, yeah, give your department heads flexibility as far as their schedules, working at home, things of that nature. But on the flip side, you also need to say, but we will require everyone to be in a mask, everyone to sanitize their workstation as they leave for the day, everybody to not sit around a table and have lunch together as a department. That's a mistake. That's just asking for the spread or for those certain departments to shut down. Again, you're looking at how to protect the business. The business is the county. That's how you protect the business. We can't shut down just certain aspects of the business. We have to mandate, not that mandate might be a bad word, it's almost a cuss word nowadays, but you almost have to say, no, you are always gonna have your masks on. Because honestly, that old courthouse, the ventilation stinks. Even the new building downtown, that's kind of a problem. The virus will spread throughout. Again, it's gonna happen, but your department managers are very good managers, but I think they need direction to say, you can do this, but we're gonna require this. And so that they're required to do certain things, but they do have flexibility in their scheduling and things like that. So that's all I have.
And that's not asking too much right there.
No, I wouldn't think so.
We issued the edict back when about masks must be worn in all county buildings, if you all recall that, remember that? So by sending out a directive email letter to all department heads and their staff that you will wear a mask, masks are, they work for us, by the way, masks are mandatory in your office. That's what the public health officer has told us. Unless somebody has a problem with that,
I have a big problem with it, but I'm probably the only one in the room, so it's
yeah.
okay.
But
Well, I mean, I do too, and, you know, I don't appreciate saying that, you know, we're gonna go to hell because people died on our watch, when these same people that are putting these mandates down our throat openly support abortion, late-term abortion, and the deaths of the unborn are 3 to 4 times per year more than the deaths we've had of coronavirus. So, I mean,
Well, and they're getting sick with them wearing masks too, I mean.
that is just where it comes to me, is it's just like, how in good faith can, you know, I tell anybody what to do when, you know, our government openly supports abortion, and that keeps going farther where you can even kill your baby after it's been born. I mean, I just can't, I mean, that's just my problem, is it's just,
we're
you know,
talking
I
about,
just,
How can we tell anybody what to do when it comes to that, when it's not within our constitutional authority to do?
but this is our county, this is just what we're doing as a board to our employees at the county. Now, under the directive of the public health, this is what he recommends. We have to listen to this stuff as we listen to all meeting. There's certain things we have to listen to, whether we agree with it or whether we don't. I mean, we have to set down rules and regulations for our county employees. Elizabeth, what do you got?
Well, I would like to ask a question, because some of my employees are in their own office. Do I have to mandate they wear a mask when they are working in their own office?
Anytime you are around somebody that is not in your own household, you should have a mask on.
Yeah. I
Period.
can't go for that.
But if you're in your own office, you're not around anybody.
Exactly, but as soon as you walk in to visit with that employee, your mask should be on and their mask should be on. Now, regardless, I understand Travis's frustration, I get it, I get it, but again, if you're running the business of the county, we can't quarantine, which you all seem to be like, we don't want people out being sick and doing all these things, spreading it. Okay, that's great, but we can't quarantine a whole department and lose that whole department for 2 weeks.
No, we would have to be creative, the same as any other business. We
Right.
would be creative to make it work.
But again, you don't have to quarantine if they wear their masks,
Why?
because they are more protected and less likely to
That's a
have
matter
gotten
of
the back virus.
That's a matter of opinion, though. Well, you were obeying the rules, so therefore you don't have to quarantine. That's not scientific, that's.
But that's what we're asking all of our county to do currently. When I call the Ramada, because they have a problem down there, if they did, we would go through these steps. This is what you need to do. Did your employee have a mask on? Yes. Did the person that was sick have a mask on? Yes. Okay, there's no harm, no foul. Off we go, keep working. Had they said no, they both had their masks off, well, now they're both in quarantine.
But that's still a matter of subjective opinion that you're enforcing and we've given you the power to in some way, but look, there are people with, we've acknowledged this, the governor acknowledges this, there are people with genuine health issues that cannot be wearing these things. They're unsanitary. Anybody that's worked in food and understands cross-contamination, these things are disgusting.
There's
I
ways
sat
to
there
get
and
around
watched-
that.
No, but people aren't doing it.
Well,
I
exactly.
know you can get around it, but now we're making people sicker by doing something stupid just because, so everybody can feel better. And that's not acceptable. Anyway, I
Okay,
digress.
let's, help me along here, Mike, should we,
We just, if there is some kind of direction this board wants to take right now and adopt any kind of change of action, enforce or policy for the county, now the time to do it.
Let's break it into pieces, because there'll probably be some divergence. We'll take several orders under this. I move that the county department heads have the ability to do, I don't know, flex scheduling is the right word, or shift scheduling. I think that's, that's reasonable, and, each department's discretion, but that they start to do, I think that I can come across on that, so I move to do that.
Yeah, and I think you all know what that means. They have complete discretion for the schedule in the day and everything.
As long as county, as long as county business gets done, I don't care when you work or where you work. It's fine with me.
okay, we have a motion by Travis and a second by Lori to allow the department heads to use their discretion on scheduling, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we, any discussion on that?
I think you need to add, Mike talked about vacation. If you're gonna add using their vacation, that was also something that Mike had brought up. You might add that to your motion as well,
Let's bring that.
or their sick pay.
Let's do it, let's talk about that right after this motion.
Yeah.
Separate motion? Okay.
We'll do that next.
Motion by Travis, second by Lori, to allow department heads scheduling, flexible scheduling. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So that passes. Now we're looking for a second motion, Mike,
So, yeah, basically, the issue is, we had done this once before, we're encouraging your employees to utilize their sick time. And we can say, put an expiration on it before the end of the year, because some of it's gonna disappear, at the end of the year, some of it will roll over. But if you want to reduce office space, you're encouraging employees to utilize their sick time, and encouraging department heads to work their employees to authorize it, essentially. Because usually they have to put in a request ahead of time.
Yeah. I would, well, okay, there's a difference between vacation